Hello. I just wanted to talk about some creative stuff I've been working on and with everything that's been going on, not just with the events of this year's election, but everything personally I have going on between family and friends and everything under the sun. It's just been kind of hard. And one of the main ways I've been practicing escapism is my creativity and my creative outlets, and using those not only for myself but to portray stories. I love creatives. I surround myself with creative people, and lately I've been reignited with my own love of creativity in my own way. It started from a story I've had were in the works and an idea I've had for what feels like forever. One about two characters. It's a love story, but it's not a romance, if that makes any sense. It's a story about love and loving yourself, and I guess more how being in love can be great, but being in love is pretty worthless when when you're not working on yourself, when you're not trying to be better, when you don't care enough for yourself. Or it's not even really that. This story in particular is more about how meeting someone can make you want to do better for yourself. That kind of love. Not only accepting their influence into your life, but having there be someone that makes you want to be a better person. And you aren't out here kicking puppies or anything, but you're just not the 100% you that you want to be or that you feel like you can be. And I just wanted to share something I ran into while I was looking at that. I was doing this thing where I was watching one of my friends live stream, and I was like, oh, I'll work on some story stuff, whatever. I have nothing else I'm trying to do. I need something to keep my mind off things. And in doing that, I remember my big brother told me about a personality test that's better than the 16 personality test. And basically what he told me was it's called Ocean. I was like, oh, okay, I'll go. And I did that in the same mind state of the character. I was in the mindset of the character. I was doing character stuff and thinking about the character as if I was that person answering these questions. The last two questions on that test were ones I weren't expecting because I didn't really see how they fit in, but I'm really, really happy that those questions were there. It was saying, the first one was your favorite movie of 2023. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I went and I Googled movies that came out in 2023, and that gave me the idea, oh, this character really like movies. I could see that. That makes sense to me that they envelop and they throw themselves into the stories of others, not to escape their own life, but it's more that they're just really, really lonely. And in that loneliness, they find comfort in stories and storytelling. This character in question, his name is Sage. We just call him Sage. He's an artist, and he just really enjoys not only movies and beautiful compositions, and a lot of his paintings are from some of his favorite movies, but stories let him disassociate and not have to feel as lonely as he is if he's a part of another world. He gets to be something or somewhere else. I might be projecting on him a little bit, but you do what you can. And the movie I saw that made me think a lot about Sage when I was just scrolling through was Hey God, It's Me, Margaret. And because Hey God, It's Me, Margaret was a book first, one of the the last question on the personality test was, what was the best book you read in 2023? And I was like, oh, well, Hey God, It's Me, Margaret is a movie adaptation of a book. I was like, well, maybe his favorite book also has a movie adaptation. And I went on Wikipedia and I just searched up movie adaptations, books with movie adaptations. And it was weird. You know how sometimes things just catch your attention? You don't know why, you don't know how. Something just jumps out at you. Even if you've never seen it before, it just feels like it's pulling you in, it's calling to you, kinda. that's how I felt on this option. The option was, yeah. It was basically the name of a movie that came out on Netflix not too long ago. I have to look at it because I'm kind of stupid and I completely forgot on the name of the movie. All the Bright Places, that's what it is. Even though I just watched like 2 YouTube videos comparing the adaptation of the book and the Netflix movie. And I saw it and I read the. I'm sorry if you can hear that crunching. One of my cats is behind my chair right now, but what can we do? One of the. And the adaptation, if you don't know what that book/movie is, it's basically about a girl with survivor's guilt and the loss of her sister. And she meets this boy. And the girl's name is Violet, and the boy's name is Finch. And they meet while Violet's trying to kill herself and jumping off a tower. And Finch, also about to commit suicide, prevents it and not only gets up there with her, but basically talks her down. Of course, word gets around, but everybody thinks that because Violet used to be this bright, shining star, and everybody thinks that she's the one that saved Finch. And they grow closer, and as Violet gets better and is healing, Finch gets worse. Until the point where he ends his own life. And it felt so abysmal to me because for my story, we have Sage, a guy with autism, living young adult life, not young adult, more like new adult life. Friends, first year college down, working at a coffee shop, just doing art, just going about life. He's a really lonely character. He loves his loved ones, but I mean the kind of loneliness when you're in a group full of people, but you feel alone. And Isabel, that's our female character in my story, she has survivor's guilt. She was the reason why her and one of her dads died in a car accident. And not just a car accident, but basically imagine like a drunk mail truck driver hit them and T-boned them while they were driving. And he died on impact, and she still survived. And she was the reason they were in the car because they were going to go get her jacket. And I had never heard of All the Bright Places before in my entire life. Like, I'm not super duper on social media. I saw that it was like a super big book talk book for a while. And just so strange how it jumped out at me at all the other hundreds of thousands of pages of options on Wikipedia. But not only that, but the story in itself and just the understanding of it, I guess. And at least for me, I can't speak for everybody, but whenever I'm creating, I get the innate desire to want to seek out more things like what I'm creating. But I fear one of a few things might happen. I'll read something by someone I super respect, which is very similar story to what I'm creating, and I'm like, oh my god, they did this so much better. Why should I even try? Or I'll read something bad that I don't really enjoy, and I'll be in a bad headspace. Am I a bad headspace? I mean, like, I have ideas from whatever I read that was bad jumbling up my brain that is preventing me from producing or writing anything good because I'm so stuck on the, oh my god, that was terrible stuff. Yeah, 'tis a bit weird. And also a big worry is just like the fear of like plagiarism. I know, there's no such thing as an original idea. There is no such thing as originality. Great artists steal, bad artists copy, that whole thing. And it's true, when you are creating something, everybody wants to create something better than the sum of their parts. People pull from things they really enjoy to create something better. But quite literally, I now terrified because I really, really want to read this book, but I'm also really scared too because I fear that I'll love it and it'll make me give up on the story that I want to tell. And even if the stories are different, like there is some romance in All the Bright Places, but the romance is a vehicle to convey the story about mental health, and not just mental health, but how loss affects us and how people struggle, and how if someone slips through the cracks of the system, more to say. And even I heard, again, I haven't read it, but I heard like there's a whole bunch of stuff that's not even the movie that's in the book, like a lot of the stuff with Finch's parents, and how someone who can be so bright and shining like Violet could be or interested or be a part of someone like Finch's life who seems really dark and dead, at least to him, someone who wishes he was dead. And just that desire for closeness and togetherness, but love not being able to save him, love not being able to save anybody or everybody, really. I don't know. I'm just rambling, if you couldn't tell, but I want to read it, and I'm scared as fuck to read it, because if I read it and I love it, I'm going to be like, oh my god, this is amazing. Why do I even try? But if I read it and I think it's bad, I'm going to be like, oh my god, that was so bad. Why should I'm stuck in this bad headspace. And I doubt it's going to be bad, because even just I was getting teary-eyed watching the YouTube synopsis of it I watched, so it's going to be good. Stories of pain and suffering. But not just pain and suffering, but stories of love and loss, and not just loss of oneself, but personal love and personal loss. I got a lot of help from my best friend back in Chicago. He's sadly experienced a lot of close, intermediate family losses, and when asking him about what would be super important to include in Isabel's character, he said that being nonchalant doesn't happen overnight, and that the nonchalantness is not a way to shoulder yourself from the pain. It's a lot more like enough people tell you to get over it, and then you build up a wall around yourself, not only to protect yourself, but to be strong for the people you love. And then even just in watching the YouTube synopsis I saw, in my head, of course, I've never experienced that firsthand. I'm like, well, why? Like, no way. Like, that's the anime thing, where like all of these kids are terrible and stuff. And I was saying that to him, and he was like, the truth is stranger than fiction. I was like, yeah, kids are pretty awful. And then even just watching the synopsis YouTube video, I have to find the name of that YouTuber. I'll grab my phone really quickly because it's still like right here. Her name is Full of Lit, and it's her reading and reacting to All of the Bright Places video. Really nice, really loved it. I was about to cry with her. But in having someone in my own personal life, someone I love, someone I respect, basically being like, hey man, you don't feel a desire to shoulder the burden until enough people tell you that you need to get over it. And I just think that's so cruel and like super fucked up. Like, who on earth could say that to someone who just lost a foundational pillar of their family? And then even in that video, in the movie itself, there's a fucking guy who I assume is in the book where he's like, hey, when are you gonna like stop being so mopey? Like, I know your sister died or whatever. And it amazes me that people are that terrible, but it also doesn't amaze me. But yeah, it's just a lot of pain and feeling. Sage, my character, his feelings of loneliness, his feelings of wanting to not be a burden to his loved ones and wanting to get as much time with them as he can. Him trying to adapt to the best of his situation, but he lives in an apartment with his 3 best friends, but they're never there. He never sees them because while they are his only friends, they have other friends, they have their own lives, they do other things. And he feels so alone until he meets our main character, or, well, not, she's not our main character. Sage is our main character until he meets Isabel, basically. It's not instant, and it's not overnight. It's a story of strangers to friends, to people who have crushes on each other, to people who tried dating, to people who break up, to people who work on themselves, to people who want to try again. And the reason that's so important to me is because what I really find great power in is loving someone so much, or caring for someone so much, or someone or something being so important to you that they rub off on you in a good way. That there are things about them that make you stand up taller, work harder, try harder, burn brighter, I guess, just for nice little metaphors and such. But just that desire to be a better person. You accept someone's influence on accident, and then in their absence realizing, like, no, you were such a big part of my life. But also understanding that what I did or what I said or how I behaved was just wrong. And to be willing to try again, not even just willing, but to be worthy to try again, I need to work on myself. And not just work on myself in the get therapy or the workout in the gym kind of way, because those are good too. But to ask myself the real questions, to really get to the bottom of my shit. And even if I don't go professionally to get therapy, or even if I don't end up going to a psychiatrist or anything, to be honest with you, I need to be honest with myself. I can't put up this wall to protect myself, to defend myself, to keep myself mentally safe, because you make me want to be vulnerable kind of vibe. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's kind of just one of those things that now I don't know if I want Sage, if I want that to be his favorite book, because I feel like that's kind of weird and like a little on the nose for the story. If even before he meets this girl that's going to end up being his girl, his favorite book has always been a book about a girl with survivor's guilt and a guy who's like super lonely and depressed. Just seems a bit telegraphed. But it's probably going to be something where what inspires them to tell their love story is them coming across that book together, which I think is nice, because how I intending on writing it is kind of like, if you've ever heard of like the Sweetheart comic on Webtoon, where it's our characters, they're already together in the future, but they're telling the story of how they fell in love when they were kids. That's how it's going to be written. And I like the idea of like, hey, we came across this book. We both, him and Sage and Isabel, we came across this book. We both read it. We fell in love with it. And it reminded us of our love story. And in it reminding us of our story, we decided to tell our story. Because while there are similarities and differences, there's value in stories that are super close, but also just that itty bitty different. Because even if you have some story that's super similar but has some key differences, it can change how people perceive it. It can also change completely how people relate to it and connect to it. But yeah, I look forward to not only reading it, but I appreciate the inspiration, its motivation it's given me. Hell, it made me fucking go through all this process of setting up this whole shabataga that I got going on. Something I've been wanting to do for a while, and this book gave me not only the courage, but it gave me something to yap about for about 20 minutes straight that I can start. Probably going to do more of these. Different subjects, different things. There's definitely... So, yeah. I'll mention this later, probably another video. Hell, I might even put it in the description of this video. But there was a YouTuber that I saw. Her name is MayaCore. And I had been wanting to do videos like this for a while, but I was like, who's going to sit and listen to me yap for like 20 minutes straight? And then I saw one of her videos and I was like, oh my God, this girl is pretty much exactly like me. She's just yapping for 20, 30 minutes straight. Absolutely. Yeah, Next one I do of these might not be as serious. Well, it'll probably still be serious, but it'll be more upbeat. I'm probably, since I mentioned Sweetheart and the storytelling and how that story is told here, there is a scene in the Sweetheart webtoon comic that I truly believe is one of the greatest pieces of creative writing I have ever gotten to experience. It's just such an experience, especially in like a webcomic, that I want to share, not only gush about how much I love it, and two, go through the layers of like why it's so good to me. But I'll probably do another yapathon at some point. But yeah, this was fun. Hopefully, my rambles have either put you to sleep or you feel like you know me a bit better. And at the very least, if you don't know me a bit better, you feel like you got something out of this. Bye.